right. Interesting, good to test it. Why is there no sound? I just play some garden sounds.
This is the fennel, the wild fennel. Again, it's very typical of the Sicilian flora. We use a lot in the kitchen also, the leaf of these plants. We make a pasta sauce. We use the seeds to make the famous salsiccia. Sicilian salsiccia is a sausage, and we put inside the salsiccia the fennel seeds.
Sounds from my garden swing in Berlin. It's very short beat.
Auringosaina varjo seuraa kulkea, kun päivä painuu pilven, niin varjo katoaa. Maailmassa monta sen ihmeellistä asiaa. Se hämmästyttää, kummastuttaa pientä kulkijaa. Siilillä on piikit, linnulla on höyhenet. Puupulla ja oravalla turkit pehmoiset. Maailmassa monta on ihmeellistä asiaa. Se hämmästyttää, kummastuttaa pientä kulkijaa.
So these were some wooden bells I recorded in a garden in Finland. And the song before was a mother and her son singing a Finnish garden song. And you might have understood the word maailma, which means earth, and auringon means sun. And it was a song about the earth and the sun. And it's mixed, evidently. I have many unordered pieces on my computer, and sometimes I don't even know what's in them. So evidently this is a mix of some distant church bells from Gießen, Hescher, with the Finnish wooden bells. Which is also to say that I'm not working very systematically. I work on a very intuitive basis. And I use field recording a lot, so I walk around with a microphone, as probably some of you do as well. And I record stuff, and some of this has also been broadcast. So one last, which is taken from an interview with a
Fand ich klasse, also dass ich da was reinwerfe in die Erde und dann kommt da wirklich was raus.
Sakura, Sakura, Yayoi no sora wa miwa ga soka kire ga somi ko kuma.
So that was evidently a song about cherry blossoms. So as I see, almost everybody is here, and I start the so-called presentation, and I have here something which is maybe not unpractical, because I did this for India, and it explains a bit about my work in 7 minutes. Yeah, and now I have to find out how to play this. Maybe play here. I'm sorry. It did work the other way. Maybe slideshow, play from start. No. Maybe slideshow, presenter view. No. I'm sorry, I'm not used to use PowerPoint. Has anybody, Zoom window, new window, has anybody a clue? I want to get this onto edit, view, presenter view.
This is one?
No?
No.
I'm sorry, it always happens. Maybe slideshow?
This is running. No?
Maybe it has to do that it's now connected with the, like this. Let's see if this works. Basically, I have something else here. Okay, it's a bit hopeless. Okay, this is a project I did in Australia, and it was a connection between radio art and topographic radio.
Hey, let's go and see if we can find some lyrebirds. Dad said they're out by the tennis courts.
Yeah, let's go.
I thought it was the centre of the world. It was a beautiful place. Everything you wanted was there.
Ah, see? Something's moving there.
It's not a bird.
Got wings though.
It's a moth, Melinda! A giant moth!
We had a massive big hall down near the shop, down near the lake, and we had Christmas parties there and movies twice a week.
We should try and catch it and bring it back to school.
And I made this radio play.
Oh, see? It's flying further and further. Come on then.
Because there's a spot when I walk the other direction, I feel quite fearful.
Where I place the
I thought it was the sound of the water, but no, it wasn't. There's a big tree that's fallen. It's actually there.
A gum tree, they won't live as long because this stronger tree, it's got more strength in its roots.
Wait! See our moth? It's the biggest. It's a king moth. A king bogong moth.
We interrupt our program on 3AR for an emergency call reaching us from the telephone operator in Bogong Village. Two children, Melinda Gray and Simon O'Donnell, are reported lost.
Don't touch it, Melinda, don't! Don't touch it, it's electric!
So this is another little piece I made. So they are hidden in the birdhouses. And this is a poem.
I am this radio. You are listening. You are listening to the radio. I am not your friend.
I am a black box.
Nor your enemy. But I am with you.
Take me into your hand.
I can walk with you. You can walk with me. If you walk too far, I will change frequency.
And you cannot listen.
And you cannot understand what I say.
Or maybe
you change frequency. Then you cannot listen anyway. 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 In both directions. We are connected.
So evidently now we are coming to Datscha Radio. It's total spoiler, this thing, which was happening in my garden, which you will see in the next picture, which is in north of Berlin.
Jannik hat einen Garten schön, drin kann man viele Beeren sehen, rote und schwarze, groß und klein, locken im goldenen Sonnenschein. Oft kommt Jadwiga hier vorbei, schaut durch den Zaun und denkt
unhappily falling in love in a garden. So I don't have to explain much because eventually you can read for yourself. So this was before, this was while, with Valeria and Matthew as technicians. We were doing these 5 days of non-stop radio, and on the last day the radio station even moved down out of the studio under the tree. So I think most of the stuff is quite self-explanatory. And this time I had a team that consisted, well, basically of women, and then I was asked, is this a feminist project? And even though there were some feminist issues definitely touched upon, well, me personally, I didn't consider it to be explicitly feminist, but there were topics touched. And of course we saw that at least 50% of the artists were women, because that's important in the audio and in the radio scene.
Es ist 12 Uhr. Willkommen zu Datscha Radio 2017 hier im Garten in Berlin, und wir starten mit einem Song.
Very feminist.
2, 3. Men tell us 'tis fit that wives should submit to their husbands submissively, meekly. Though whatever they say, their wives should obey, unquestioningly, stupidly, weakly. Oppressors would make us their own dictum take, without ever a wherefore or why for it. For I can't and I won't and I shan't and I don't, but I will speak my mind if I die for it. For we know it's all fudge to say man's the best judge of what should be and shouldn't and so on. That woman should bow nor attempt to say how she considers that matters should go on. I never yet gave up myself thus a bitch, but capitalist pigs might try for it. For I can't and I won't and I shan't and I don't, but I will speak my mind if I die for it.
Yeah, so sorry about that. I have it here correctly on my screen, and it's not. I can't explain why it's not there. But basically, then of course we made a documentation. I might come later to this. Datscha Radio was founded in 2012, and we also started in the garden. Datscha Radio is a combination of sound art, people being on the spot, on site, having talks, combining current contemporary academic discourse, and of course just like having musicians and people meeting in the garden and cooking together and having all this. So 2012 the thing was happening in the garden, and basically the whole thing is on the blog, which is easily accessible. So this is the media thing, and if I go like in the archive of 2012, 2012 was made possible through the man whose hand you can see here. He was my neighbor, Peter Ehlenfeld, and his obsession and biggest passion and greatest love in his life were the queens of the night. He was the first person I spoke to when I acquired the garden. I was walking past the other gardens, and there were these cacti sitting on his terrace. And I said, these are queens of the night, and he was totally happy that he found somebody who knew actually the name of these Selenis cereus and recognized that these are special cacti. And so the first Datscha Radio was 7 days, and it was realized with very little money, 5,000 euro, given to us by the local culture community thing. Basically, if you want to do a garden radio, never think about money, just exploit yourself. At the moment, it is like this. Because there's incredible work in preparation, and of course we try to get some sponsoring, but it's very hard, because the way it is done in Berlin, they want you to send in your proposal months and months and months earlier, and then you have to wait and wait and wait months before you get an okay, and then you get the okay, you still have to wait 2 months until you get the money, and once you have the money, it's like only like 1.5 months for preparation, and you are not allowed to start work before you have like ordered the money. It's terribly complicated. Let's just look into the 7th day, what was happening there. Of course, we can have this in English. So you see how, so there was this birdhouse by a Finnish friend. She's very interested in birds and caring for birds, so she makes these birdhouses herself, and she distributes them in Berlin because it's important that the birds have homes, because there's less and less homes for birds Then, of course, we have young people who are singing songs. So this was a very spontaneous action, for example. So they just called and said, yeah, we want to come, can we play some songs? And then we made a radio hour with them. This is the Morgenvogel Morning Bird Corporation, who does the birdhouses. And they also do psychedelic DJing later at night, as you can see. Then, of course, this is Verena Kuni, so she is one of the collaborators. She is a professor for media in Frankfurt. And like in the first Datscha Radio, she was very much responsible for all the people who works with electronic and plants. And also here we had an outdoor studio. Indoor studio, the hat belongs to multi-instrumentalist Hannes Wienert, whom you will see in the 2017 edition of Datscha Radio 2. So here again, working situation in the garden. Maria, I think she's telling the person how to adjust the birdhouse in the tree. There it is. Yeah. Okay, electronics and fruits. There's the fruit. More fruits and electronics. Artist friend coming into the Datscha. Yeah, Hannes performing at night with one of his most interesting Chinese organ instruments. Pete Schulz, with whom I founded the Datscha Radio in 2012. And I think that's this one. So you see here. Then Datscha Radio went into a different phase, which was like we left the garden, and because there was an open call out in Hescher, which is a district in Germany or a province, and there was this national garden show. And what they wanted is, they wanted Hessian artists to propose, and because I come from Frankfurt, Main, which is there, I was eligible. So the concept was this time more an ethnographic one. The plan was we have a little caravan and put it up on the grounds of the garden show. Let me see if I find a picture of the caravan. We have to go back in time. Maybe here. This is just, no, it's not that. So this is how we proposed. So I just made this collage and said, this is the caravan, and we put up the radio there, and it's totally simple. And then we had the thing that, yes, where's the graphic? Here, maybe? Okay, not here. It's somewhere else. I will, it's here. So, this was the plan. So it means that we are here, and this is our living world with music and flowers, and it means that we are communication and community, and then we have interviews and stories and music, and we have the garden, nature and sounds. So that's the living world of Gießen. And then we have the level of observation. So because I, like in my biography, I studied ethnography as one branch of my studies. So, and I mentioned earlier that I like to observe things and just like look at them or just listen to them without putting on a value. So okay, we have like field research and radio, then we have the artist, then we have system and random results, and then we have a lot of work and time. And if we all put this together and more time, we come to radio and production of texts and soundscapes. And then the idea was like, hey, if I collect all this, if I do all these interviews, if I do all these protocols, if we go back to the protocols, so there's tons of stuff. I had no time to translate it into English, but these are the protocols I did. So this was a lady, she's stroking a fennel plant I met in the Botanic Garden in Gießen, and then it says like here you can see it says like mails, uploads, citing of material, working on the pictures, telephone, 10 o'clock 23, a picture of the future station in the library has been sent to me. Then oh, I've got my mother on the telephone and she wants me to spell out the work explicitly. Then there was like some action at the church in the gardens, which was horrible. I mean, this was also a thing. The National Garden Show is a total bourgeois thing to happen. You know, you have all these fields with tulips and roses and more tulips and narcissus and all this. And then comes this caravan there, and these two crazy artists sit in there, and they are sort of partly making radio, and then this woman walks around and makes these interviews, and then she sits in the caravan and types all the stuff in. You see here, these are the people. And of course, I always visit botanic gardens. So this is one of these protocols. So the idea was, and this was then from my partner Pitt Schulz, hey, if we collect all this stuff, what are we going to do it? And his idea is we compost the audio material. We just throw it into a program that hacks it into little pieces, and then we have a compilation of what has been happening. This was partly working, partly it was not really working. And what we did there, we stayed there for 1 week, made radio as was similar to the garden in 2012. I was coming and going in between and making my researchers, interviews and all the stuff. And then in the end, we made a festival. Yeah, okay, this is the picture of the festival. And then I would really have to look into something else. Yeah, there was also a thing that I was like, Bilsenkraut, I don't know, of course Bilsenkraut, there were 2 plants I detected on the garden show which evidently did not belong there. It's not there. It was a very, very, very poisonous plant. And the other thing was this one about illegal plants. So this one was growing actually close to the river, and I think the people of the National Garden Show didn't want to have this one. And yeah, this is the totally poisonous stuff, and it was growing by the wayside. And I really don't know why it grew there. Do you know this plant? It's like it was used also in witch medicines. It's like it makes you fly. Does it give the black? Yeah, it just here it just says witch herb. So this is really like deathly poisonous, and it was growing by the wayside, and I thought maybe there's a guerrilla who wants the garden visitors to die, or their children, or their dogs, or whatever. This riddle couldn't be solved, so you see, part of my work was like doing this, or imitating this scientific stance. If we come to the... So this is another view of my garden, and here you can see, and you can look it up for yourself. All the audio material, except for one night loop, is now on Mixcloud, so you can have a listen into it. And of course, there is this see then later. So like this, and so it gives you also some views of how it was. And while the subject of first Datscha Radio was just the garden in the air, and we were asking ourselves, hey, what's the sound of the garden? How can we capture the sounds of the garden? How can we create a garden in the air? The second motto was like compost and poesis, because it had to do with poetry, writing, and poetics, and also composting the knowledge. And for the third Datscha Radio, I thought up the slogan of plots and prophecies. Plots, of course, also with this double meaning of being a space where you plant plants, but also of making a plan, or like thinking up a theme. And also I tried to split up the whole set like into different subjects. So we had these 5 days and 5 different topics, and as it was more or less planned, we had a radio lady who was in charge of each day and was supposed to take care of the broadcasts. But of course it didn't go like this. It was just like you are in charge of maybe 3 or 4 broadcasts, and then all the others come in and we share the work, because you cannot do 16 hours of live radio on your own. That's not possible. So there's some pictures of the book. Opening day, graphics. So people traveled even from Frankfurt. This is Dirk. Like Natalie, she sent in one piece which was about plant music, and I liked it because the sounds were really, really harsh, really noisy. And when we made this interview, she was revealing the other aspect, which was about, like, as she has some African heritage, that these plants, where she was taking the sounds off, were originally plants from some part in Africa. And then this field of discussion came into view when it is about relocation and dislocation of cultures and plants, and how they travel to other countries, sometimes voluntary, but at slavery times it wasn't voluntary, and how these plants are also in a way being enslaved and made to grow in order to create the riches of the Western world. So she was very, very decided to speak about this. This nice elderly man was also, it was quite a little story, because I found this radio museum in the vicinity of Berlin, and I thought, and it was called Foundation Fred Froberg. And I called them up because I thought foundations, they have money. So I called him and I said, hello, this is Datscha Radio. And he said, yeah, and he had this Eastern German accent, which I can't imitate. And he was like, this is a fabulous idea. I just love to participate. Can I come? Or you must come to the Radio Museum. And he was talking. While he was talking, he was talking so long, I was trying to make myself a green tea. Actually, poured the hot water over my thumb, scalded myself really, really, really bad. And he was still talking. I said, Mr. Froberg, I just poured hot water over my hand while making a tea. Can we maybe talk a bit later? He was going on. And I was running around with a thing here and said, hey, brother, do you have some ointment, some stuff to get in? No, I haven't. And then, in between. The end was his foundation hasn't got any money. His foundation has 5,000 euro a year, while Datscha Radio at least had 5,000 days for 5 days. So, and then in the end I just invited him over because he used to be a DJ in Eastern Germany, and that's also why they have this radio museum. And he was so happy to DJ for us. And he was like, and it turned out this foundation, his name is Frank Froberg, and Fred Froberg was one of the most important Schlager singers in Eastern Germany. And they made this museum, this foundation, in order to honor this man, and he's the son. And I'm sure I'm going to meet him again. Valerie Djordjevic, she's also an interesting artist. She works with eye rights, but she's also a specialist for seed politics. And we had also a quite spontaneous broadcast because she had been collecting songs about seeds and plants and seed politics and traveling plants. So it was actually a DJ set, and in between we talked about what she knows about this topic. It's all on Mixcloud now, so you can hear. And here we have Raymond Browers. He's got a project that's called. That's about, I don't know how it's called now. Does it say something here? A reforesting project. It is definitely, and he's starting a tour through Germany in a caravan. It's Germany, Swiss, France, and I think still some other countries. And what he does, he's like negotiating with people in the cities to have their buildings greened or to plant a tree on their balcony. And for each tree that's planted there on the building or on the balcony, another tree is planted in a deforested region of the earth. And he wants to point out, or he points out also in his talk, that that the Western cultures are drawing on the resources of the other countries and cultures. So while we have our daily shower, trees are being cut down in other parts of the world. So he says, let's buy a tree here and let's plant a tree there. And with his 1-tour tree, which he's like doing in the course of this winter, I think not such a good idea at the moment. We've got like 15 degrees minus in Berlin and all over Germany. He's trying to collect interested people who want to participate and support his project. So he was also a guest. Well, basically you can read all this. We had also some more or less trashy music. We had with greenhouse emissions. We had a plant translating machine. How it works is of course totally secret. And we had Pat Austin here, who had been traveling to the Arctic regions to check on the pH levels of water there. And she was also demonstrating some of her results with us. We had the local gardeners. We had Marek Brandt, who was making music for slugs. Basically, he makes music for animals, so he also makes music for hedgehogs and for mosquitoes and everything. But of course, as slugs are a very prominent inhabitant of gardens. He made music for slugs, and the slugs evidently liked it. So you see, every day had this theme. So this is Hannes again, and this is another Queen of the Night, because I made 2012 this interview with Peter about his queens, and in 2014 he unfortunately died. So the only testimony of his love for his queens is in the Datscha Radio archive. Yeah, Frieder Butzmann, he's a poet and sound poet, made a totally crazy piece about Twitter. Yes, it's also on Mixcloud. And then we had, as a specialty of this year, we had Hans Kellett, who comes from New Zealand, and he was most days in the garden, and he was taking walks in the surrounding gardens, talking to people, and he was like recording the interviews, then they broadcast this interview. So he was just talking about the plants. He can speak German. And then he made a poem. So we had the interview, and then he would just withdraw in some corner of the garden and write his poem, and then we would broadcast the poem as well. Yeah, and we had a journalist who really liked our stuff, and he wrote the postscript. And there you can see it's quite a big number of artists and participants. So in order to realize a little offshoot of Datscha Radio here, you must multiply. Yeah, thank you so much for your attention. This was the Datscha Radio presentation. So maybe you have questions, but we can also, I have also a list here, how we can eventually plan stuff. And my idea was that you want to ask something?
No, please continue.
That we maybe go to the little studio next, because that's a lot nicer than in this official thing here.
Okay. Everyone speaks Spanish, or has to be in English? You don't speak Spanish, so we have to keep it in English. If someone has a problem, si alguien tiene algún problema con el inglés, que lo diga. So before we go to talk about the project, what we're going to do and what we are going to do, before I would like you to present yourself, okay? And tell me what are your interests on the project. Do you think this is a good idea?
Okay, so people say why they are interested in the project, yes?
Yeah, why not? Are you agree? So do you agree with me?
Yes, I want to know.
So I'm going to give you the microphone and you say your name and why did you came in the first place to Datscha Radio and what would you like, what do you expect, and then we can stop the streaming and just meet in a comfortable place, maybe warmer with a cup of tea, and we keep talking, yeah? So.
My name is Mahlet. I am originally from Eritrea, but I live in Norway. And first, I would like to say that I always knew and follow IN-SONORA because I am a sound artist, and I had my first master in visual art with sound in 2006 in Norway. And then at the beginning, I found out about IN-SONORA. I have sent my work to exhibit, and but it was at the beginning. So they say they like the project, but they didn't have the capacity for me to show my work here. So after that, with this connection, I had always the link with IN-SONORA. But my project has been developing, and I work with a strange sound, and that's a crying. So first I recorded my voice, and then I was a little bit shy about it, but then I had to develop it, and I start to work more with this topic, going down in Africa, recording field records, crowd crying, and then I went into this is for 10 years. Then I found out also people, they don't cry only when they are sad, but there are people also, they sing and they dance when they are sad. So it went with a lot of research, and I have been working with this project from 2006 until 2016. And at the end, I had a lot of material of field recordings of people in interviews, research, workshops. I have built a labyrinth. So in this labyrinth, I want people to experience death in a way. So I was working with a lot of voluntaries, so people, they can lay down as a dead body, and then there was a ritual of body washing and everything, and all the sounds I have been recording, they was showed with 7 small videos and 7 small sections in this labyrinth. And at the beginning, I had a lot of challenge to build the labyrinth, because when you say labyrinth, people think the labyrinth with plants, so that was a little bit difficult. But I had an old theater in Eritrea, and it was made by the Italians, and there was a lot of up and down in this place, so I have made an adaptation to make a labyrinth in this theater. The second time I did it in another city in Africa, and now the third time I am going to build the labyrinth this summer, because I am busy with the idea. People, they don't have to experience only this heavy sound, the crying or the chanting of crying, but also experience in the body the labyrinth. So I am choosing some natural material where people can walk and maybe adapt a little bit and change, because now with 2 labyrinths, I know what works, what doesn't work in a labyrinth. So when I heard about Gabi showing here with the radio, and because I have a plan to make a site-specific project, I was very interested to see, to come, to collaborate, and to learn. And when I was in Norway, it was abstract for me. But when I came here, I just want to feel it and to see and to learn with people that they are working with a similar topic. She's doing garden, and then my next project is a sound with a labyrinth with natural material. That's it.
Me pongo de pie. Well, my name's Alberto. I'm a student. I'm on the 3rd year of journalism and communication here in Madrid, because I am from Zaragoza. And, well, I could say that I discovered that sound art exists, 3 years ago. So I'm kind of noob in this field, but I love it, and I've made, or I've created my own works some months ago, so I'm just beginning, but it's kind of my passion, so I'm trying to learn as much as I can. I also love radio. I work in a radio station here in Círculo de Bellas Artes, in a program, well, it's about culture and many things, and I work in the sound control. I also have a section, and well, and I discovered this project, and I think that it's an opportunity to experiment new limits of sound art, new ways to work, and well, just discover new things about gardening, because I'm not an expert, and to see what can I learn and what can I also apport to the project.
Okay, I'm Cara. I'm an artist. I do many different things. Okay, I do many different things. Mostly I do sound art or visual art or just performance art, fluxus boxes or whatever I like to do. I was very fun with the workshops with Jesus. We made acoustic panels. This was very fun, and also the backpacks, the sonic backpack, so fun. Last year I had this project when I made sound plants. Didn't work out very good, but still I'm very interested in this. Huh? Yes, like moisture sensors. So when I saw your project, I just wanted to be part of this.
Will you build a plant for us?
Yeah, sure. I give you plants, or I don't really know what to do with all this. I was thought like maybe we can make the plants do the radio. I don't know.
Yes, that would be nice. It would be less work for us. Let the plants work.
Yeah, and the orchids, you know, these urban orchids in Madrid. Maybe make, like, I like very much your bird boots. This was very nice. Maybe this, I don't know. I made a list with things, I didn't bring it, but still I've been thinking about things, but I think that it's better if we talk about it, all of us. I don't know. Yes?
Yeah, but you leave your email here, or Jesus.
Yes. Yeah, I work as a mediator in live art center, so I have to leave to go to work. But if we set a date, I'll come back. I think it's very fun, and if you want to, I send you the list with the orchids. You also have the botanic garden in Matadero, this center. They have the seed bank.
Yeah, I'm totally interested.
This would be very cool because this has very much to do with Medialab. They are kind of cousin brothers. So maybe, yeah, seed bank, yes. These guys, they meet every first Sunday, I think, every month. But maybe we can just contact with them through Intermediai and talk with them. Yeah. So sorry. Love. Yes. Okay. So you write to me when we're gonna meet. Okay.
Hi, my name is Lauren. I moved to Madrid 2 years ago, and one of the first things I noticed when I moved here was the sounds, especially inside of the metro. And I started recording with my phone people that were performing music, but also just the sound of the trains, which formed its own rhythm. Another thing that really stuck out to me was the Royal Botanical Garden, which is just across the street. It's my favorite place here. And being from Texas, originally, we don't experience seasons in the way that we do in Madrid. So this is the first time in my life that I've lived in a city with deciduous trees where I see the colors of the leaves change in fall. So the seasons are extremely pronounced. And this garden especially marks time for me in a way that I've never seen. Right now it's winter, but the garden is very alive. And so I got very excited when I saw that Gabi was coming. And her project with the radio, making different experimental approaches to plants and art making and sound, just condenses a lot of things. And this past summer when I was home in the States, I discovered this tape that I made more than 10 years ago of my grandmother, speaking about her youth, and she was a farmer. She had to pick crops, and she then moved to Madrid as an adult. So it's an interesting place, and it's maybe some material I can use. So yeah. Yeah, I have it in digital form now. Thanks.
Hello, I'm Eva. I'm from Madrid, and I began to tune in the radio because when I was just 10 years old, I participated in a program in a radio station, and this was very, very funny. I remember that we invite another people from another school, and then we make some conversations, and we prepare also some pieces like false publicity to make laugh the people, no? And also I began to study gardening at 17 years old. So I began to soon to work with plants. I have worked in different places around Madrid where children come to visit nature. Also the hospital for plants, and also another big space that now is closed, this little where people can take a little part of land and plant, but this place now is not going on. Natural Alcalá, this a big, close to Alcalá de Henares, and this is a very good installations where children can sleep, also theater, the plants, and you can go to the river and see different animals. It was something about the Madrid community. It depends from that, and something wrong with the project. And this year is, and also I do some video art and sound art. And also I'm in a musical duo. We do concerts, for example, for concert for bees in the nature, or we come to the city and play for the people. It's like meditation to let a little about across the sounds, little sounds, and so I have some friends in Sonora. Always they are some engineering, sound engineering, crazy people. And some years I write to them, I want to participate. So this year I come to participate something that I have a lot of points very similar, like radio, gardening, and art. So welcome, and let's see what happened.
Did you say there was a hospital for plants?
Yes.